Welcome back, everyone. It's Sunday sit-down time. I'm joined today by Matt Stahl with the Columbia Tribune. Matt, thanks for joining us. You're still drying out from the game yesterday?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, just a little bit, really terrible weather overall.
Yeah, we'll start just with the atmosphere and obviously with the weather conditions. What was it like out there?
Well, Kansas State fans really did get a good job showing up, packing the place. I think it was sold out. That obviously dissipated once we had a 55-minute lightning delay in the second quarter. I mean, people came back, students never really left. But yeah, overall good atmosphere, but yeah, just terrible playing conditions. I think the turf got a little sloppy there.
We'll start on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, Deuce Vaughn, a big day, almost 150 yards and 2 scores for a team that we thought their run defense was elite after week 1. So what big changes did you see?
Well, first of all, you weren't playing Louisiana Tech this week, and kind of a team that takes a lot of air raid concepts. But I mean, Deuce Vaughn, if you watch throughout the game, it didn't seem like he was necessarily the #1 point of that offense. It kind of showed up on the box score after, but throughout the game, he wasn't getting those big chunk yards. But still, I mean, 2 touchdowns, had 1 pretty long touchdown. It seemed to me too like they were keying off him so much it gave Adrian Martinez some chances that he maybe shouldn't have had.
On the offensive side of the ball, Brady Cook, obviously not his best day, and then Jack Abraham came in, 4 interceptions total. Did you think the quarterback switch was a good idea, or what was the answer at that point?
At that point, I don't know what was a good idea. Like, you were getting beat, so, I mean, between Cook and Abraham, 4 drives in a row ended with an interception, which is just generally unacceptable. Like, you can't have that. It came at a point where, the defense was making some stops. Like, you were getting your chances with the ball and then just doing nothing with them. As to whether it's a good idea, I don't know. It seemed like nothing was going to work at that time. Drinkwitz, after the game, said he wanted to see if Abraham could if he was maybe seeing things a little differently than Cook was. Clearly was not, and didn't go well, and Cook ends up back in the game. So I don't know how much of a concern it was going forward, just because things were going so poorly overall that what could you do, really?
Yeah. No, definitely. They didn't air the ball out as much. Do you think that was a big concern with the weather, or do you think there just wasn't any wide receivers open downfield? It
was a combination of things. It could be there were some, you could see some guys open, and there were some underthrown balls, and it led to some of those interceptions. And obviously, you didn't get Luther Burden as involved as I think fans would have liked to see. But, I mean, you couldn't keep Brady Cook clean was part of the deal. He's kind of running around for his life back there, and if you can't give him 3 good seconds to throw the ball, find a receiver down the field, he's just not going to be successful.
Yeah, he was pressured a lot. Kind of offensive line, do you think we might see any changes?
Changes, I don't know. There were... Through the offseason, there are some changes, obviously, at center with Connor Tollison taking over as a redshirt freshman. I think maybe that just gets better with time. You get a few games to gel, and it's good. I mean, you have Abilene Christian here, which, coaches say you don't want to take anybody lightly, but it's Abilene Christian. This is a good time for this game to hit to maybe work out some of the kinks in the offense.
You mentioned Luther Burden. Obviously, we expected to hear his name called a lot more. 1 reception, 1 carry on the day. Was he not open? You were there. You saw it all firsthand. Do you think they could have used him a little bit more?
I think maybe. I mean, they threw him the ball a few times, and it just didn't happen. There was, at one point, he could have scored a touchdown where maybe, either Brady Cook overthrew him, maybe he, short-armed it a tiny bit, maybe both. So he had a few chances to play maybe a little bit bigger role. But I think the thing to remember, too, is as heavily touted as he is, as much hype there is surrounds him, he's still a freshman. We'll see. Maybe it's just part of adjusting to the college game.
Drinkwitz had a big response after the game, obviously. He was putting it all on him, telling people to kind of block out the noise in the locker room. How important do you think that is for the team moving forward to just put this game in the past?
Yeah, I think you have to, and I think putting it all on him. I mean, obviously, players on the field did not look good. But it's you should be a little more prepared. It seemed like it seemed like there was so much chaos on just kind of all facets of the game that, I mean, the team should have been more prepared. You knew who Kansas State was. Players all through the offseason said Kansas State is going to be a measuring stick game for us, and they came out and just looked really, really unprepared. So yeah, I kind of agree with Drinkwitz on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about Abilene Christian. Obviously, we expect that to be a win next week. We haven't seen a whole lot from them. What are you expecting?
First of all, I mean, just the talent deficit's going to be there. Like Mizzou should get it done. In those kind of games where you see that big talent deficit, I think line play is where it really shows up the most. You can kind of recruit a little better offensive, defensive linemen. So I'd expect Mizzou to kind of dominate up front a little more. To me, it's just this is a game where you need to fix some of the issues, like figure out what actually works on offense, maybe get the defense looking back kind of how it was against Louisiana Tech, where they're all flying to the ball, there's not those rushing yards, and maybe don't give up a punt return touchdown.
Well, hopefully it can all get worked out this week, because after those rankings came out earlier today, I think we have 4 coming up on the schedule, 3 or 4.
Yeah, I mean, you get them out of Abilene Christian, immediately go to Auburn, and it does not get any easier from there. I mean, Florida's still, I mean, they lost to Kentucky, but you also have Kentucky. You go to Gainesville. Georgia's coming to town. It's Tennessee. You go to Knoxville. So, yeah, you're after this Abilene Christian game, you're kind of getting thrown to the wolves as far as the scheduling goes. So it's important to sort of fix some of these issues now.
Matt, you're always out at practices during the week. What are you hoping to see at practice this week to kind of get them back on track?
Just some energy, I think, is going to be big. I mean, it would be very easy to kind of just bury your head in the sand and call it a season after a game like this. Not so much for coaches, but I think for players, like, you just have to kind of forget about it and look to move on.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. I hope next time we talk, it's after a better game, right?
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone at home. We'll have more coming up after the break.